All right. So, if y'all recall, in 2018, Xbox announced um, that they were creating that they had created a new studio called The Initiative, and they started working on a Perfect Dark reboot. So, just to give you some context, here's the trailer.
I remember when everything changed. The floods, the storms, the fires, people dying in the streets. The corporations gave us solutions. A better world. And we welcomed them into our lives. But the laws of nature aren't meant to be broken. We need to know what they're hiding.
It's a cruel, cruel world.
Did you find the answers you were looking for, Agent Dark?
Not yet. This is just the beginning.
So you see, with that was them. Like, what was that? That wasn't no damn 2 years ago. That was no. It was probably 2 years ago. About 3 years ago, they showed us the trailer, the announcement trailer. But we knew the initiative was something like, 4 or 5 years ago. But this is why these announcement trailers mean absolute dick, ladies and gentlemen. Because believe it or not, they still don't know what they're working on. As in, what we've learned is that this game is still in early development. So, let me see. Here, we'll play this from IGN.
What's up, everybody? Damon here, and in today's gaming news, the Perfect Dark reboot is still...
No. We'll listen to Kind of Funny.
Like, especially right before the pandemic, and give them the click, read the full.
Xbox's Perfect Dark reboot is still years away. This is Rebecca Valentine at IGN. But before I dive in, Blessing, do you want to talk a little bit about this story?
Yeah, sure.
It's quite long.
First of all, shout out to my boy Blessing Adeloye Jr. He still got me blocked on Twitter. I feel like blocking me was a little excessive. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you're a little sensitive. All I said was that he was a face that was hard to look at. I mean, come on, bro. Like, that's facts, though. Like, look at my boy. I don't understand, like, how, like, come on. Like, that is a face only a mother could love, dog. Like, look at my boy. Hold on.
Yeah, you were like, I think this is the longest story we've ever had on the show, and yada, yada, yada. How did you condense? When do you want to intersect to talk about it? What do you think?
I mean, I tried my best to condense it. Of course, Rebecca Valentine doing very amazing work.
Look at my boy. Come on, man. You didn't have to block me on, bro. You know you hard to look at. You know that. Come on, dog. And people gonna say, "Oh, you're a bully." I'm not a bully. I'm not bullying him. I think he's a cool guy. A cool guy who's hard to look at. But you know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Let's let him continue.
Over there at IGN. Like, she's been on the journalistic
I
side.
told y'all the gaming industry is full of beta males, dog. They can't handle any sort of criticism. They can't handle being roasted. They can't handle anything. The moment you say something that they disagree with or they feel offended by you, they gonna block you. Whether you talking about Jizz Gordon, Blessing, or any of these guys are just, they love that block button. And now I understand what women mean when they say, man, men who block people is kind of sassy, ain't it? Yeah, it is kind of sassy. It is kind of sassy. I ain't gonna lie.
Side of the industry for a while, right? Even starting with gamesindustry.biz, but she brings a lot to IGN, especially the news stuff. And yeah, she did a deep dive into what's going on with Perfect Dark and Xbox and why Perfect Dark is still years and years away. It's a very long article. I recommend anybody go over there to IGN, give them the click, read the full thing because there's so much in there. Me and you, Greg, have both read the full thing. I've condensed down to like the first maybe like third of the article,
Okay.
and then I bullet pointed the rest, just so we're not sitting here all day reading
Of
the full
course.
thing. But even for what I condensed, it's still a lot.
Go
in there.
read. Go give the click. Go
Yeah.
send Reb some love. Yeah.
And so I say, like,
I can jump in up to bullet points, and then we can tackle what
Yeah.
we've done, and then go bullet points.
let's do that.
Sounds good. At the Game Awards 2020, Xbox.
And for the record, that's the reason why I didn't pull up the article. The article's so goddamn long. I wasn't finna read that entire shit to y'all. Ain't no way. Hell nah. Be sitting over here bored all. We just gonna, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna rock out with kinda funny. By the way, for the record, I mean, if you ever watch Kinda Funny, these guys are really not not funny at all. Like, at all. I'm disappointed by that. But whatever.
Xbox unveiled a new game from its fledgling studio, The Initiative, a reboot of Perfect Dark. 3 years later, developer The Initiative is still, in many ways, only at the beginning. At the time of the trailer, created by an external CG house was shown. At the time the trailer, created by an external CG house was shown, it was quote unquote very obviously way far ahead of anywhere the game was at, according to one developer who was working at The Initiative at the time. Quote, we hadn't even.
Which is why I said these damn trailers mean jack shit. Jack shit. Like, they showed that trailer and it was nowhere near like close to anything what they had. They just paid somebody to make a CGI trailer and got you hyped. And I believe the gaming community is like this as well, where they ain't trying to hear it. Like, yeah, okay, you know, you got a little trailer, but what a gameplay at though. And I used to feel like, okay, you know, cut them some slack a little bit. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna show some gameplay, but now I'm with the gamers on this one, guys. Like, I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to hear none of that you talking about. I'm not trying to hear none of that you talking about. What a gameplay at, dog. I'm sorry, did I not just? Wow. So, let's continue.
Figured out any of our core game mechanics. We didn't even really know what type of game we were making, end quote. According to conversations with 13 sources familiar with the game's development, little meaningful progress has been made on Perfect Dark since that 2020 trailer. Why? The answer isn't glamorous, but rather wrapped up in the realities of game development. The project has seen roadblock after roadblock, with problems such as fraught co-development partnership, a pandemic, technological challenges, an ongoing exodus of significant talent, and unclear direction from management, keeping the game in development limbo. And while a new partnership with Crystal Dynamics appears to finally be bearing fruit, multiple sources who have worked on the game recently say that Perfect Dark is still quote-unquote in the earliest stages of development, estimating that it is still roughly 2 to 3 years away from being ready for release. In the early days of the project, the overall mood was optimistic. Perfect Dark was an exciting IP that most were thrilled to be working on, first at the Initiative and then at Certain Affinity when the studio signed onto the project in 2019. As with any early development process, much of this initial work consisted of nailing down a clear creative vision for what the game would consist of, and then developing a core gameplay loop that is both supportive of that vision and fun for the player. Studio leadership was fairly clear from that early on that the initiative's Perfect Dark would see a balance of combat and espionage elements that would ideally feel like playing through a James Bond or Mission Impossible film. The developers just had to figure out how to translate those memorable movie moments into video game format. But
Well, I think the problem is, I think Perfect Dark is traditionally a first-person game. And for what they really need, it needs to be like a third-person, like, somatic experience. Like, in my personal opinion, Xbox is in desperate need of like that third-person, you know, just somatic banger. Like, they need a Ghost of Tsushima. They need a God of War. They need a, like, the thing that aggravates me the most is all of these first person shooter RPG types. Like, man, bro, like, get out of here with that. Like, oh my God. Get out of here with that. Like, do something different. Like, I get it. You got Avowed coming, but Avowed don't look, I'm sorry. Y'all can say whatever y'all want. That shit do not look good to me. Y'all ruined that for me. And so, like what are we supposed to get excited about here? I'm not seeing it. And you're talking about Perfect Dark, another first person shooter, but it's supposed to be stealth espionage. Like, I don't want to play that. I don't want to play that. I'm tired of first person. Let's continue.
while these core ideas remained roughly consistent throughout Perfect Dark's development, exactly what the player would be doing to express them kept changing as ideas were pitched, prototyped, and then scrapped for something completely different over and over again. This process was expected at first as a fairly normal component of game development. But as Perfect Dark moved into its second and third year, sources tell us that the process began to drag on much longer than expected, as leadership's refusal to commit to any specific ideas or shape for the game began to frustrate both teams. One former employee, a woman, also expressed frustration both with the low number of female creative staff on the project generally during this time, as well as multiple meetings where male creative heads made
Now what the hell this got to do with making the game? This is why I say when it comes to corporate America, you have to be extremely careful when hiring women, dog. It's just the facts. I know it's controversial to say, but what does that have to do with the video game? I'm trying to make a game here. You complaining about how many women are working here. What does that have to do with anything? Oh, that's not enough women working here. So, we're trying to make a game. We're not trying to make a statement.
sensitive suggestions that were difficult to push back on without more women in the room to support the potential concerns. An Xbox spokesperson offered the following response to this specific topic. Quote, "We are committed to addressing any and all concerns employees have in accordance with our company policies. We have been and will continue to encourage players to report workplace concerns when they have seen or experienced behavior that falls short of our culture, values, or policies. Employees can report workplace concerns in a number of ways, including anonymously," end quote. Among even more former employees we spoke to was the sense that the people in charge were unable to communicate a clear vision for the game they had so enthusiastically signed up to make. Or, some said, when they did manage to communicate that vision, leadership ignored or dismissed feedback from the experienced team they'd put together. These repeated struggles over creative vision resulted, sources said, in build after build being thrown out and internal frustration growing with each new reset. And that's just the opening of all this.
Damn.
Where do you want to dive in?
I want to start with, once again, commending Rebecca Valentine on the report, because she talked to 13 different sources, and it's explained once you get further into the article and even in the bullet points, right? She even talked to Matt Booty about this, right, in a very formal conversation, and Matt Booty was very frank and open about the ongoings of the initiative, why there is some struggle with the initiative, right, mainly being him citing the pandemic as being the major thing, right? But when you look at the problems that Rebecca lists off, even in one of the early paragraphs, talking about a fraught co-development partnership, a pandemic, technological challenges, an ongoing exodus of significant talent, and unclear direction from management keeping the game in development limbo. A lot of what I'm getting out of this report is that making video games are hard, right?
Right.
And it's a conversation.
No. I tell you, bro, a lot of you dudes get paid to do Boy, I tell you. That was your analysis? After reading all of that, your analysis, making video games is hard. These guys get paid to do jack shit. Wow, making video games is hard.
Yeah, all the time. It's a thing that we keep repeating, but it's a thing that I think gets more and more true as we go, especially as video games become bigger and bigger and more.
And as I've said before, what also makes video games hard is when you got dipshit employees and developers who think that life is supposed to be soft and comfortable. You got these developers making 6 figures a year, and they're complaining because it ain't enough women. If you don't get out of here, return the bloodstone to the pedestal. What are you talking about? Oh. But yeah, though. I mean, we trying to get a video game made. We got hundreds of millions of dollars invested in this, and you're complaining about you're complaining because there aren't enough women. Like, come on, bro. Like, what are we doing? Let's continue.
Advanced, more expensive to make, and all these things. A lot of these things are just compounding,
Sure.
right? Where co-development partnerships aren't an odd thing, right? That's been a thing that's been going on for the industry for decades. When Rebecca Valentine gets to the weeds of, yeah, this was the back and forth between the Initiative and Certain Affinity, and certain studios taking control of certain things, but then also like Certain Affinity brings something to the table and not working for what the Initiative wants to do, right? And just pure disagreement on how those studios work together, and them not being able to find that chemistry, and how that things then get cut off, right? And they don't renew that agreement. That's the thing that happens. That's not necessarily the result of, people doing the wrong thing, right? Or it not like it being the result of balance or whatever. It's just the result of this relationship not working, and we need to go on and find the next relationship that will work for us, right? Or find the thing that works for us to make this game. And so, like, there's that. The pandemic, of course, like everybody knows it well, that the pandemic makes things difficult, right? And when you're talking about the Initiative being built from the ground up as this quote unquote quadruple A studio, yeah, like especially right before the pandemic beginning to start.
And by the way, this is why Xbox is buying studios and not building them up front. I'm sorry. It's hard to build a studio in an industry full of lazy liberal motherfuckers. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just say it. You can get mad at me, say whatever you want. But when every time you make somebody work a wee bit harder, then you got to worry about articles from Jason Schreier coming out talking about crunch. Make it stop. Also, I think, I know we love Phil Spencer, but Phil Spencer needs to be held a little bit accountable for this, because he likes taking his hands-off approach. With all due respect to Phil Spencer, I love Phil, but dog, it's too much money involved in these studios for you to be taking a hands-off approach. I'm in there every couple of weeks. What y'all doing? Y'all need to hammer this down. Y'all need to figure this out, or heads are gonna start rolling. Like this whole idea that we wanna take a hands-off approach and let the studios do them. No, absolutely not. Leadership is having your paws in everything. I'm coming in there. Listen, this is what we want from you. This is like, okay, you want to make this game? Okay, this is what we expect. These are the expectations. And I'm not saying that he doesn't do that, set expectations, but to me, Phil has said numerous amount of times that he has a hands-off approach. He allows the studios to do them. I'm not saying micromanage them. I'm not saying that, but something. Or you just gonna keep releasing Redfalls every damn year? You can do that. There has to be some type of pattern here. Xbox, I'm sorry. Crackdown, Redfall, Halo Infinite. How is it that Sony is getting out quality games, but you can't? It's too many L's. You've taken too many L's. So this idea that you just gonna take a hands-off approach, no. That's BS. You need to take a hands-on approach. Let's get it. Get off me.
This next game, going from 2019 and thinking that everything's going to be cool. It's gonna be smooth sailing, and then boom, we had to work from home for years and figure out how to launch this thing from home, right? Launch this brand new studio from home. Meanwhile, you're probably even still working on the infrastructure to be able to work in person, let alone at home. Yeah, that's really gonna fuck up your production timeline. The technological challenges and also just game design challenges of how do we make a perfect Dark game in 2020, whatever, right? That's probably
2018 when they started this.
yeah, when they started this, right? But now we're probably talking about 2026, 2027 at this point. That is way easier said than done because sure, what comes to mind immediately is let's just make a sci-fi first-person shooter. But what they're talking about in terms of their direction, they're talking about it being a new flagship for Xbox. They're talking about it bringing back this beloved IP, right? Like for Perfect Dark, when you're talking about the best Metacritic rated games, is very high up there. That is a game that has a lot of love for it and a lot of fan expectation for what that would be. They're talking
an IP that matters.
It's an IP that matters, and it's an IP where they're talking about doing these cool, innovative things with. Hey, let's make it like a James Bond or Mission Impossible thing. Let's give people different types of tech that can affect how you move around the environment or different cool kinds of guns. Again, very easier said than done. And I can imagine
stop it. It's very easier said than done. It's just stop it. It's crazy to me that people can go to school for years, right? Can go to school for years for this stuff. Come out, struggle with it like they ain't never did it in their life. Get paid 6 figures a year to do it. And then you get guys like this come on here talking about how hard it is. Stop it. Stop it. Get some help. We've seen other studios and publishers able to get this done. Like look at Elden Ring. Look at Tears of the Kingdom. Look at Resident Evil 4. Monster Hunter. Like, come on, bro. Like, y'all keep making excuses for these people. Ain't nobody trying to hear that, man. If you're an Xbox owner, which I am, but thankfully that's not the only platform I own, get out my face, bro. If you're an Xbox owner and you're looking for a reason, you're looking for an excuse to even keep your Xbox, it ain't looking good. It just ain't looking good. So, I don't know. Let's continue.
Difficulty it takes to nail down a creative idea that is going to speak to everybody when you're trying to, make this big AAA franchise that's going to be a flagship, but then also make something that's pushing things forward with a new team. It's a lot. Like, they're shouldering a lot.
The deck is stacked against this.
Yes.
And that's the thing that, Reb's article goes through. You said at the top game development's hard. I want to pull from her closer, right? Again, you should go read Reb's article. It's fantastic. But, her third to final graph starts. My takeaway from talking to 13 individuals across these 3 companies, as well as formerly with Booty, is neither tidy nor especially earth-shattering. Game development is hard and getting harder, especially in recent years amid the ripples of a pandemic, economic struggles, and increasingly complex technology being used to both create and run AAA games. She goes on for everything else, co-development relationships, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. It's in the article and it's talked about, but it is the fact that can't be lost in what we say all the time now. I feel like this conversation's come up several times in recent weeks of it doesn't matter how many talented people and how many industry veterans you bring together to create a studio. That is that studio's first game. That is that studio's first time figuring out their pipeline, their structure, what their deliverables are going to be, how they're going to do this. What are they milestoning? This article goes into the battle about Unreal 5 and where that ends up with Crystal Dynamics eventually coming in. All of that is wrapped up in it. And so if you're going to take a new studio, and I don't care how many amazingly talented people on it, I don't care how many industry veterans are on it, you're going to do that. And again, in Reb's article, it talks about this being a quadruple A game. That is a recipe for disaster. To say that you're going to tackle that, right? It's almost if you wanted to boil it all down to a meme, format. It's Obadiah Stane from the original Iron Man yelling at somebody going, Naughty Dog built this in a cave with a box of scraps. And it's like, Naughty Dog's first game was not The Last of Us Part 2.
Yes.
And so it's like there's a journey to get
like Rockstar's first game wasn't GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2, right? You look at any of the studios you look around and maybe classify their things as, the top of their class for quality.
Yeah.
All of them started off smaller, right? All of them started off with, games that were way lower scale, way lower budget, and then over time grew into that. Like trying to start off with your first project being something that's going to blow everybody away. That's a tall order that might be damn near impossible when you're talking about what that means.
And it all, what I hear echoing through this entire article conversation.
I don't know. I'm gonna let you add that one.
There's a tweet that went viral back in 2020 from, at the time, Fanbytes, Jordan Mallory, if you remember. I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less, and I'm not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are talking about starting a studio and saying, you need to make sure, we want you to go make a Mission Impossible, cinematic, quadruple okay, we might as well bury them under. It's like Spider-Man buried underneath the rubble, and it's such a Herculean effort to push yourself off.
Yeah.
and
I
get
ain't
all
gonna
that
lie.
behind your back.
You
I ain't gonna lie to
that
you.
in a-
I understand, but nah, I don't like. With all the experience, I just feel like I can't rock with that. But who knows? I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I just think Xbox need to get their shit together. Hold on, guys. I gotta go and blow my damn nose really quick. One second.
Let's go. Beat that thing down like you started attention, my baby. You had some plans with your man, just tell him to cancel, my baby.